All right, welcome back to The Lead Word. This is your host, Trey Dalbert, along with me, as always, Chad Bauman. Today, Monday, November 2nd. Chad, I don't know if you're one of these Christmas music guys. Is it time, clock turns November, you're a Christmas music guy or no?
Hell no, we have fucking Thanksgiving to get through.
I don't know. Some people are crazy about it. I personally don't even like listening to Christmas music, but, I wanted to see what your thoughts were.
I can listen to Christmas music for like an hour.
Yeah, same.
Through an entire month. Like spread it out over an hour. I can't go over and over, back to back to back every day Christmas music. It gets like it's the same songs. Like it's not like they ever change.
I'm the same way. But anyway, a couple things before we start. First things first, the Patreon page for the site has been created. So if you like the content that we do, consider donating. Helps keeps the light on, helps put some money in our pocket. So if you have a chance, I'll link this down below. Visit the Patreon page. Think about donating, because we do good work. We're funnier. We're better. We're smarter than everybody else. So, Chad, Patreon page. Things are looking, we'll see what happens with that. Second thing, Chad, and you can weigh in on this one, is officially the host of the fantasy show until further notice. I would like to apologize to the viewers that watched the last fantasy show. My motto with this site has always been the same. If you're angry and talented and think you're worthy, go prove it. But sometimes, we're going to have people that jump on the Titanic and it sinks to the bottom of the ocean and it's boring. And you guys deserve an explanation for that shit show of an episode. So Chad has been tasked until further notice with leading the fantasy football show. So
I almost forgot about that, to be honest with you. But yes, that is true. I'm going to be host of the fantasy show until further notice, which I have to record that tomorrow. So we'll see how it goes.
Those will be done Tuesday throughout the NFL season. So that'll be the schedule for the rest of the year. And again, not a ton of words needed for that last episode, other than the fact that we will not let that happen anymore. Are you ready for, week 8 here, Chad?
I'm good to go. Let's go.
All right. I'll start it off then. So a lot of people have criticized me for this in the past, and a lot of people have thought I am insane, which I do have a screw loose, but more often than not, I'm pretty ahead of the curve on these things. And I am the only person I can think of that actively roots against their own team, Chad. On Sunday, I put a hefty sum of money on the Pittsburgh Steelers because they were getting 4 points. Now, this is a rivalry that historically has always been close, but I thought not only was Pittsburgh the better team, but the fact that they were getting 4 points, according to Vegas, was flat out silly. And it has nothing to do with the fact that, the Ravens are well run, they have a good defense and all that. The ticking time bomb that is Lamar Jackson will continue to deteriorate. And nobody knows when the bomb's going to go off. But it's slowly starting to lose some pieces here, Chad. It's slowly starting to come back down to earth. It's going to happen. He's going to explode, and not in a good way. So Baltimore, on Sunday here, Chad, they found a way to rush for 265 yards and lost. I don't remember the last team that's ever done that.
Well, they needed 266.
Who's the last team to rush for 265 yards and lose? I really want to know.
Probably the Eagles.
It's insane.
I'm guessing.
They didn't lose this game for any other reason besides the fact that this Lamar Jackson guy, who I've been told is God, isn't very good. He fumbled twice. He threw 2 interceptions. He hasn't – in week 1, he threw for 275 yards. He hasn't hit the 210 mark since week 1. Every single number of his is statistically down from his MVP season, and it's not just down a little bit. It's down a lot of it. And I had to pull this up. Last year, 7.8 yards per pass. This year, 7.1. That's not that bad. But last year, 66.1%. Now he's down to 60.5. And it's starting to get cold, and it's probably going to only go down because the weather's getting worse. Last year, 36 touchdown passes. 9% of his throws touchdowns. This year's got 12. It's week 8, or we're through week 8. 6.3% of his passes. Last year, 1.5 interceptions. 1.5% of his throws, interceptions. This year, 2.5. Last year, and this is the biggest one, we would consider Lamar Jackson a mobile guy, but teams have started to figure him out. Last year, he was sacked 23 times, 106 yards lost. This year, 19 times he's been sacked, 108 yards lost in 7 games. He's being sacked more because teams are blitzing him, and teams have started to figure this out. Chad, you can go back and think of when the Titans played him in the playoffs, the Chargers played him. These teams, they're not bringing these slow linebackers on the field anymore. It's, we're going to have Derwin James in the box. He's going to be our linebacker. These teams are playing him differently. They're starting to figure it out. The numbers do not lie. I don't want to hear this anymore. This is a fucking joke. The whole thing's a joke. It's been a sham from day one. The Baltimore Ravens will never be taken seriously with this thing. They are officially the Lincoln Riley Oklahoma Sooners, the David Klingler Houston Cougars. They will beat up on the teams in the Big 12 that they should. But if they play anybody any good that has any ability, they're a fucking joke and they'll never be anything. I'm tired of this. I hate it. I got to deal with this for probably another 2 or 3 more years. It's nonsense, Chad. I'm over it. It's bullshit. I've had it. I can't take this anymore. It's nonsense.
I don't know. I think maybe you're overreacting. I think they're 5-2? 6-2 is their record?
5-2, I think. I'll have to go and let me look that quick. I didn't have the record right now.
I know they had 1 loss.
5-2.
Yeah, I knew they had 1 loss going into the game. I couldn't remember what their win record was. So, yeah, they're 5-2. I don't know. I think the way they're built is they're just not built to be behind. I mean, there's been plenty of teams like that.
Well, what are we doing here then? What are we doing here?
Look, I don't think this thing is completely off the rails is my point. Like, I think the way they built this team, they can win a Super Bowl, but
no,
it just has to go their way.
This team's never going to win a Super Bowl. It's a total joke. His numbers are way down. Like, they're not close, and the weather's starting to get bad. It hasn't even gotten bad. Last year, 113.3 passer rating, 82.3 QBR. This year, 94.3 passer rating, 61.6 QBR. He's not even in the same stratosphere. His schedule's getting tougher. They get Indy soon. They got to play Pittsburgh again. They get Tennessee soon they haven't seen. And last year, Tennessee kicked the shit out of them. The schedule's getting worse. The weather's getting worse. This is a joke. We're talking about, oh, well, they got to build. You got to win from in front. That's not happening 4 weeks in a row, ever. Ever. Like, what are we doing here? Who builds their team like this?
Well, it must have happened at least some point this season because they're only 5-2.
Yeah, they beat up all the bad teams.
And what? It doesn't matter. You just said you're not winning 4 weeks in a row. At some point, they won 4 weeks in a row.
They will beat the bad teams. They are the Lincoln Riley Oklahoma Sooners. They can steamroll people in the Big 12 because they're bigger, they're more physical, they can run the football. They can beat the teams in the Big 12. That's not the problem. They play teams like the Pittsburgh Steelers, lose. They play teams like the Kansas City Chiefs. They're like 0-6 against the Chiefs. They never beat the Chiefs, and it's never close because Mahomes can win coming from behind. Ben Roethlisberger can win coming from behind. This is dog shit. This isn't a way to build a football team. This is a complete and utter disaster. I hate this team. I absolutely hate my own team. I can't stand watching them play.
All I'm saying is the way it's built, it can work. Is it going to work necessarily? No. But if everything goes their way, they get a lead, they play behind that defense, they run the ball, they'll be all right.
Did you watch the game? How much of the game did you watch?
I went in and out. I didn't watch the whole.
He does not look good. He does not make accurate throws. He is, like, statistically, last week, or this week, I guess, adjusted completion percentage, dead last. Ben DiNucci had a higher adjusted completion percentage than Lamar Jackson did this week. He can't make throws. He's never accurate. He makes bad decisions with the football. He's not a fast thought process guy. And teams have started figuring him out. They're blitzing him more. They're getting better athletes on the field. This is only going downhill. It's never getting back to that MVP level. It's only going to continue to look worse. Next year, it's going to look worse. The year after that, it's going to look worse than that. This is going downhill real fast. You got to jump on this ship now. Off. Get me out of here. It's horrible. I can't watch him play football.
Look, he's Mike Vick.
He's worse than Mike Vick. He's way worse than Mike Vick.
I wouldn't say he's worse than Mike Vick. I think as a runner, he's a better runner than Mike Vick ever was. I think Mike Vick was just so naturally talented that he just got by people. I think Lamar's the same. He's naturally talented, but I think he actually knows how to run the ball. Passing wise, I think they're about the same. I'm not going to really go into that. Mike Vick went to an NFC championship game. Who knows what would have happened with those Falcons teams if Mike Vick didn't go to jail after that. I think it can work. Will it work? I don't know, because like I said, I think a lot has to go their way, but I think it can work. You just got to get lucky.
I think we're being fooled by the talent level here too. This is a Baltimore Ravens team that has done everything in their power to make this thing work. The Falcons weren't well run. Michael Vick went into a situation on a bad football team. He went to a team that had the number 1 overall pick. That wasn't a good football team. Lamar Jackson went to a team and they picked him with the 32nd pick with everything in place. This is a very good roster. This is a great defense. Who's got 3 corners like Baltimore does? Who's got Calais Campbell? And now they got Yannick Ngakoue and Matt Judon, Marcus Peters, Marlon Humphrey, Patrick Queen comes in. They got guys everywhere. Those Falcons teams weren't good.
Well, that 04 team was pretty good.
They eventually got good, but Michael Vick didn't enter a very good situation. His this is Lamar Jackson's what, 3rd year? Atlanta was not good their 3rd year. It took a while for them to get good. Lamar has entered a perfect situation in a year like COVID, where his offensive coordinator, his head coach, his defensive coordinator comes back. Virtually the entire roster comes back, and they had entered the season not leaving the Eastern time zone. They don't leave the Eastern time zone one time, and their roster is very good, and they entered the season with the easiest strength of schedule in the league. Nobody has an easier schedule than Baltimore does this year, and he still does not look good.
I still think you're overreacting.
Who's got it better? Who's got it better than this guy? How many quarterbacks can you say overall roster, coaching, everything? Who's got it better than this guy? He's been handed everything. He should win games.
Pat Mahomes.
And
probably say he has it better.
And
I'll throw in Dak Prescott in there.
I wouldn't. He's got Jerry Jones to deal with, and their defense is bad.
That's debatable. That's debatable.
But this is a franchise, the Baltimore Ravens franchise. Kyle Bowler went to the playoffs. Trent Dilfer won a Super Bowl. They have good pieces. They're well run. They do good things. They never get the quarterback right, ever. And this isn't getting the quarterback right. This is not getting the quarterback right. They don't have the right guy. This isn't a guy that's going to win you a championship. I can't remember the last time somebody ran for 265 yards and fucking lost. It blows my mind. How do you even do that? This guy has everything. Imagine if he didn't have a running game. J.K. Dobbins ran for like 8 yards a carry. Gus Edwards had a good game. He's got everything, and they still can't beat good teams.
Well, who did they play this year? I don't remember.
They beat Cleveland. They beat Houston. They beat Washington, and they beat Cincinnati, and they beat Philly by 2. None of them are good wins.
Cleveland has a winning record.
But here's my point though. You could put, I don't know, let's say you put, I'm just gonna pick somebody shitty, just somebody random I can think of. Gardner Minshew's 5-2 with this team.
You know what? We'll see in the playoffs. I think it's all a wash anyway, because I think fucking Pat Mahomes is winning a second Super Bowl this year. But I think we have to see what they're going to do in the playoffs.
Let's say they go out first round again, which means they would have lost first round against the Chargers, first round against the Titans, and first round against whoever.
Then you're right. But let's at least give it to the playoffs. They're 5-2. You know, that's something to be said.
We've had this conversation 2 years in a row now. They don't beat good teams. They're the Lincoln Riley Oklahoma Sooners. They beat up the Big 12. They get an invite to the college football playoff, and then they get fucking hammered by Bama, or they get hammered by whoever Clemson, LSU, whoever. That's who they are.
Hey, look, anything can happen any given Sunday. The Chiefs fucking lost to the Raiders. You know, at least you didn't lose to the Raiders. You lost to the Steelers, who are a good team. They're 7-0 for a reason. Would be 6-1 if the Eagles decided to cover Chase Claypool.
I hate this team. I absolutely hate this team. I hate everything about them. Well, I only hate one guy, but I can't stand them. They make me sick.
At least your team's winning. Do you have anything else on your winning?
That's
Raiders,
the problem, though, Chad.
Ravens, whatever the hell they are.
You said at least they're winning. I wish they were losing. This is the worst spot to be in, because they're going to continue to convince themselves that this thing's working, but it's not. They're going to continue to convince themselves, oh, we're winning 10 games. We're winning 11 games. You won 10 games with Kyle Bowler. It's the same shit. I hate this team, Chad.
If
I hate
you can get into the playoffs, you have a chance to win the Super Bowl.
I hate them.
If you can get into the playoffs, you have a chance to win the Super Bowl. That's all that matters.
They have no chance to win the Super Bowl.
I would not say that.
Give me Joe Flacco every day of the week. That guy, he didn't care. He just wanted his money. He barely even showed up half the time. But when it counted, he beat good teams all the time. And he put his nuts on the table when it mattered.
Do you have anything else, Trey?
No.
About your winning Ravens?
No.
All right. My first takeaway, this is an easy one. Not really super long here. I think DK Metcalf, Calvin Johnson 2.0. He is never leaving my fantasy team. Till the day I die, DK Metcalf will be on my fantasy team. Right now, 36 receptions on the season. That's tied for 23rd. 680 yards, 4th in the league. 7 touchdowns, tied for 1st. And he's averaging 18.9 yards per reception. That's 2nd best in the league. When you look at his combination, speed and size, strength, you can't compare him to anybody else but Calvin Johnson. I think hands-wise, he's not where Calvin Johnson was coming in when he first came into the league. I think he still has to polish up his route running a little bit. But DK is Calvin Johnson Jr., as far as I'm concerned.
I'll do you one better, Chad. I think he's the best receiver in football. If you redrafted the whole league today, you pick one wide receiver, you have the first pick. Who do you take?
Could be him or D-Hop.
Okay. But isn't that the point, though? You're drafting the whole league. How many guys do you take ahead of him? One?
Maybe one guy.
And I think even if you're being you're not giving him the benefit of the doubt, I think you could argue AJ Brown or Devontae Adams. But I mean, I think that's the end of the list.
And even then, like I said, I think as far as speed, strength are concerned, DK has that one. I don't think there's anybody in the league that's going to be his size and his strength and his speed.
I think his college teammate AJ Brown, who basically ran about the same time, he's the guy posing the picture next to him at Ole Miss, jacked out of his mind. He's the only guy that looks like him.
I think
AJ Brown's disgusting too. I think he's the only guy you could even compare to him.
But he's not as big as he's not as big in Metcalf.
He's not quite as tall, no. But he's
and I don't think he's pretty strong either.
He's close. I think he's pretty good too.
I love AJ Brown. Bad. I'm not saying he's bad. I'm just saying Metcalf is a fucking horse. I don't think there's anyone in the league as far as straight line speed is concerned that matches his speed and size.
I'm with you.
He's not the greatest turner in the world, but that's why I say he's like a horse. Straight line, you're not matching him. I've been wanting to talk about that for 3 fucking weeks now, but we haven't done a show. So
I'm with you. I think he's unbelievable. By the way, I believe, I don't know, we could have to go back and check the tapes, but I believe he was on my OnlyFans. He was my OnlyFans receiver this year for fantasy.
Yeah, I don't even remember. We'd have to go back.
I remember having a long spirited debate about how I couldn't understand the fantasy experts. And it was basically universal that they had Tyler Lockett ranked ahead of him.
Actually, I do remember that. I do remember talking about Tyler Lockett not being better than DK this year in fantasy.
I had a long-spirited debate about it. I don't know what episode it was, but I remember specifically talking about that. Right now, Metcalf's number one receiver in fantasy.
I didn't know that. Glad he's on my team, though.
It was Adam Thielen, but after this week, Metcalf passed him.
Had a great game. Put up 30 points. Never. I'm going to franchise him when his contract's up. I don't see how you don't. He's going to replace Julio on my lineup.
Yeah, I'm always skeptical to franchise people in that league, but he's young enough to do it.
And I don't see him falling off. I can only see him getting better. Like I said, route running, I don't think it's polished yet.
What does it matter, though?
Year in the league.
What does it matter, though? Randy Moss was never the best route runner.
I'm just saying, if his routes get better, he's going to be uncoverable.
In fact, I remember my debate now. I believe what I said was I called him Terrell Owens, and it's not a matter of if, but it's a matter of when he becomes Terrell Owens. I believe that's what I said. That's what he looks like.
Yeah. If I was Seattle, if you get to the 5-yard line, goal line fade. Every time. 5-yard line, goal line fade. 2-yard line, goal line fade. Who's going to stop it? But that's all I got. Like I said, I've been wanting to talk about DK Metcalf 3 weeks now. Just need to let people know I was the genius that drafted him in fantasy in the rookie draft. Have him for 3 years. Well, one more after this year.
It wouldn't have happened, but you picked ahead of me. So, it happens though. My second takeaway is sometimes it does matter who you get drafted by. We've learned this. Sam Darnold's kind of been screwed from the start. But, that's not the takeaway this week. Miami Dolphins, Los Angeles Chargers. They picked 5 and 6 this year. Tua goes to Miami. Herbert goes to the Chargers. Herbert's looked much better than I thought, although he didn't look so good this week against the Broncos. But this is the same Chargers. It does not matter who you put in at quarterback. Anthony Lynn will find ways to lose. Over the last 5 years, Chad, they have 38 one-possession losses. 38 one-possession losses. They are basically the Falcons, except they actually do it worse than the Falcons, but we don't really talk about them as much. Anthony Lynn constantly finds ways to lose. Meanwhile, let's go to the Dolphins. And I love Tua. I don't think you can even grade him on this start because he had to do nothing, basically. Excuse me. But Miami, those fucking guys play hard for Brian Flores. They play real defense. They have a real special teams. The Miami Dolphins, Chad, number 1 scoring defense in the NFL. If I would have asked you who that was, you would have had to guess like 10 times before you said Miami. Those fucking guys play hard for him, and they're not even that talented. And they have the Houston Texans first-round pick. They had the Houston Texans second-round pick. They got picks out the ass because they've been tanking and collecting draft picks. They're going to be very good. So when we look at the career trajectories of Tua and Herbert, I think Tua's in a great landing spot. Like, Miami's going to get really good, and I think Brian Flores is a real head coach. When we look at Justin Herbert, I almost think it doesn't matter if he's good. Until they fire Anthony Lynn or really change this thing, they're going to look at him like Phillip Rivers, or if that. They're going to say, he's good, but who cares? We'll never talk about him. What does it matter? The Dolphins are good landing spot. Do you agree or disagree?
I would agree. I remember saying before the season started, I thought the Dolphins were going to be better than people expected them to be. I didn't think they were going to be this good. What are they now? Like, I think they are a 5-win team, right? At least
4-3.
4-3. Okay, I mean, still, I thought they had a better record than that. But they beat up on a couple teams.
I think they're a playoff team.
I mean, it's looking like it. Like I said, I thought they were going to be better this year than they were last year in the past few years. Did not see them being as good as they ended up being or are right now. I will say this. I thought it was weird that they did decide to start Tua. I did think that was a little bit weird because I'm a go with the hot hand kind of guy. I think Fitzpatrick's been playing well for him. I don't think you can take Fitzpatrick out until he starts to decline and not play well. But, I mean, I guess this was a good week for Tua to come in. Like you said, he didn't have to do much. Got the starting reps under his belt.
And he got smacked by Aaron Donald one of the plays, too.
Yeah. But, I mean, hey, it's Aaron Donald. That's going to happen. So maybe it was a good week to get his feet wet. Be like, hey, man, if Aaron Donald hits you and you don't die, that's pretty much as, the best test out there.
I don't even consider Miami a talented football team. They have a long way to go. They need a lot more talent. Their starting running back's Myles fucking Gaskin. Their number one wide receiver is Devontae Parker. Their number two is Preston Williams. Mike Gesicki's fine. They don't have a ton of talent. Defensively, I don't even think they have a lot of talent. That team is well coached. You can see a well coached football team. They do things well. They find creative turnovers. They got good special teams. That team's well coached. You can see a well coached football team. You watch Dallas, they don't care. They've packed it in. This team plays hard for Brian Flores. They really do.
No, I agree. And I mean, the Chargers are sitting at 2-5. I don't know.
They have better players than Miami. They have better players than Miami, without a doubt.
I don't know. I don't know how that roster gets you two wins and 5 losses. I mean, I think it's about time Anthony Lynn maybe gets fired because, I mean, I feel like
about time. He should have never been hired.
I think 9-7 his first year. What was he, 8-8 last year? Like, this roster is too good to be messing around 500 and then now to be 2-5.
The longer he's there, the worse it looks. It's kind of like the when the Cowboys fired Jimmy Johnson. Or when the Cowboys fired Bill Parcells. Wade Phillips, he could go 13-3 that first year, but the longer he's there, that puppy just sinks. They hired a running back coach that was a running back coach for 14 years without a promotion. I mean, what are you doing? What goes through your head to hire that guy? I don't get it. What do you got, Chad?
I'm just thinking. Anthony Lynn, he's got to be done at the end of the season, right?
How did you let him come back this year or the year before?
Technically, they didn't have a losing record.
They had the 5th or 4th or 6th pick in the draft.
Did they? Yeah, they did. I thought they were like 8-8 last year. What was their record?
Not good. They were last place in the AFC West.
Yeah, he's got to go. This team's too good for him to be wasting the talent. Not to mention, they have a lot of good young players, but they have a lot of older ones too. I think their offensive line's kind of old. Their best wide receiver, Keenan Allen, is an older guy.
He's good, still good though. You would take.
He's still old though. It's just because he's good doesn't mean he's not going to be good forever.
You would take the Chargers personnel over Miami's.
Take them over Phillies.
Yeah, easy. What do you got?
Anthony Lynn, does he finish the season or is he done before the end of the season?
I mean, it blows my mind. It's a question. It's like, how the fuck did he get hired? That's my question. If you're Dean Spanos, you're the owner of the team. You sat there and said, wow, our GM hired a 14-year running back coach. And then you're seeing these results. Like, doesn't something pop in your head? Like, this guy doesn't know what the fuck he's doing. I don't understand it.
I don't get it either.
What's your second takeaway?
I want to talk about Dallas here for a little bit, real quick. I think this Dallas team, their record is worse than it should be. A lot worse. And I don't think it has anything to do with the players. If you're a Dallas fan, what I would have to say to you is this is a talented team. I think defensively, they've been getting a lot of shit because they've been giving up a lot of running yards. They've been giving up a lot of yards in general, passing and receiving or rushing yards. I think the problem defensively for them is they had Leighton Vander Esch and Sean Lee. They went down. I think they both got injured in like week 1.
Sean Lee has not played this year. That was his first game.
He played last night, yeah.
Yeah.
Van Der Esch got hurt early in the year, too. And I think he either came back last week or the week before.
Last week.
Yeah. So I think losing those two linebackers is what really killed their defense. Offensively, like we've talked about hundreds of times, they have all the talent in the world, wide receiver wise. Even they're missing 2 starters on the offensive line. It's still better than like half the offensive lines in the league. DeMarcus Lawrence is a good player. Secondary needs work. That's for sure.
Trayvon Diggs looked pretty good though yesterday. He got burned a couple times, but he's improving.
He's getting better. I think the second pick that he had, I think the wind just caught that ball and took it. You can tell watching the replay, it got held up in the wind. The first pick, though, that was clearly just a bad decision by Carson. I don't know what he was doing with that. That was a shitty throw. But anyway, the problem here is not the players in Dallas.
Nope.
The problem here, much like the Chargers, Mike McCarthy, he's a fucking horrible coach. We've talked about Mike McCarthy forever. He's the same fucking guy he was in 2010, which you would think is a good thing considering the Packers won the Super Bowl in 2010. But the problem is defenses aren't the same as they were in 2010. Offenses cannot be run the same in 2020 as they were a decade ago. And there's the whole just thing with Dallas here. Like, Kellen Moore is kept by the front office. Like, they bring in Mike McCarthy, who lied to get the job, by the way. Like, tells Jerry Jones, yeah, I watched a lot of Cowboys games this season. I can fix the team. Come to find out, the week after he gets the job, he's in the press like, yeah, I told Jerry Jones that. It was a little bit of a lie. No big deal. And now this Cowboys team, they're underperforming. Mike McCarthy's got to be one and done here. If you're Jerry Jones, you cannot bring him back next season. Kellen Moore, he can coach some defensive guy, whatever you want to do. It cannot be Mike McCarthy.
You want to hear my take on it?
Absolutely.
The Dallas Cowboys have become the Al Davis Oakland Raiders. Nothing will ever change until Jerry Jones dies. It is what it is. Jerry Jones is the problem here. He continues to hire yes men that he can control. Jerry Jones is the only guy, like the only owner that literally hosts a radio show. I don't want owners answering questions in the press. He's controlling everything. You got to let your coach handle the media and lead the team. Jerry Jones thinks he's the leader of the team. This is the Al Davis Raiders. Al Davis meddles in things. He makes bad decisions. Jerry Jones actually puts a pretty good team on the field. But remember Al Davis? He'd go out there and draft Darius Hayward-Bay too high. And he just did everything. He didn't care what happened. Tell me this. Chad, you're an owner. You're running an NFL team. And you interviewed 2 guys. And one is Mike McCarthy and the other is Marvin Lewis. This is Jerry. He wanted a guy that he could control, a guy that would never stand up to him, a guy that he could just boss around, that he could say, well, this is the way we're going to run things, and we're just going to put a puppet in place so I can continue to do my thing. It's a joke. Like, your other candidate was Marvin Lewis. Who they got to hire if they fire McCarthy? Marvin Lewis? What's going to change then? Nothing will change until he dies.
Well, they'll make the playoffs.
Nothing will change until he dies.
That's a good point. Because you have to think, like, almost every year, there's some story coming out of, like, the Dallas fucking war room where it's like they had to talk Jerry Jones off the ledge for making, like, a terrible pick.
Like when he was going to take Manziel over Zach Martin.
Right. Like, exactly. So, I mean, I don't think that's wrong.
His son had to take him out of the draft room because he was going to draft Manziel over Zach Martin.
I think you have a point. But, I mean, as much as Jerry Jones is the issue, I think the reason why I mean, at least with Jason Garrett, yeah, he was a yes man. But at least the team liked Jason Garrett. They played for him. Mike McCarthy, we're hearing shit come out of the locker room. Players are just blatantly telling people, like, yeah, this guy doesn't have any fucking idea what he's doing.
And
like,
neither does Mike Nolan, the defensive coordinator who he hired, because they're on pace to be like one of the worst defenses of all time.
Like I said, I think the injuries at linebacker had a lot to do with how bad their defense has been. I think getting Sean Lee and Leighton Vander Esch back, I think that's going to be really good for their defense.
They still shouldn't be this bad. Mike Nolan was hired because Mike Nolan hired Mike McCarthy in San Francisco. That's the only reason why he got the job.
That's true. But I think one thing you can look at from like last night's game, Philly versus Dallas. So you have Ben DiNucci coming in. You're like, okay, what can we do to make this a good game for Ben DiNucci? Run the ball, short, easy passes. Every once in a while, if it's there, take our shot downfield. What did Dallas do? Let's run every single trick play that we have in our playbook and just hope it works. I don't think Ben DiNucci threw the ball more than 5 yards downfield until like 2 minutes left in the game. Every time he threw the ball until the fourth quarter, it was like a screenplay to a wide receiver or a running back. And Mike McCarthy is supposed to be an offensive head coach.
Yeah, I don't know. I think they were screwed that game regardless. They had to try something, right? You got a fucking D2 or D3 quarterback coming in there. They did run the ball 19 times with Zeke Elliott, and Tony Pollard got 7 carries. I think they were screwed regardless. They knew they weren't going to move the football.
I like I said, I think you're right. I think they knew they weren't going to move the football. But you have to at least try. Like having your quarterback every time he drops back throw a screenplay. And like the Eagles were begging them to do it too. If you go back and watch, the wide receivers were like, or the corners were like 8-10 yards off the ball the entire game. They're like, throw a slant. Just throw it. Throw a slant. Nope. Wide receiver screen. Oh. Triple reverse. Oh, that triple reverse didn't win? Or that didn't work? How about a quadruple reverse?
They had Cedric Wilson in like Wildcat packages.
It was unbelievable. But honestly, I think having Andy Dalton would have been better for them, obviously. Ben DiNucci, I don't think he's going to be good. He obviously isn't a good player, but honestly, I wouldn't, if you're a Dallas fan, if you want them to win the division, I would not count them out yet, is my point.
I would count them out.
I think with Dalton, they still have a shot. I think there's too much talent on this team for them not to have a shot.
Doesn't matter, though.
The Eagles are 3-4-1. There's a chance.
They're never going to win until Jerry Jones dies.
It's not out of the realm of possibility. But that's it. That's all I got with Dallas.
All right. I got one more thing, and that is the New England Patriots finally stink, Chad. Finally. They are now 2-5 on the season after losing to Buffalo. And I picked the Bills to win the division. But that's not my point here. For the last, 4 or 5 years, we've been saying the same thing. This team has no talent. This team has no talent. But it keeps getting worse. At some point, you can't overcome what they have to overcome. Can we fight? Like I've been saying this for the past 5 years. Can we just acknowledge Bill Belichick is not good at picking players? Their roster is terrible. They have nobody. The Jets are a different story. Who's got worse players than them? They're terrible. They don't have like anybody who has a lick of talent. Cam Newton has come in there and yeah, he looked good for like 2 weeks, but he's got nobody to throw the football to. Their offensive line is fine. They're running. Damian Harris is now their starting running back. Defensively, they got Winovich, Stephon Gilmore, and nothing. This team's not good. At some point, you can't overcome Walmart workers at every single position.
You're right. They're not a good team.
They haven't been a good team for like 5 years. But it got to the point where it's just unwinnable now.
But to be fair, I also think some of this is I'm pretty sure they had the most players in the league this year opt out due to COVID.
12.
Yeah, I think they had more than any other team.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken.
But the guys that opted out weren't good. It's like, we're counting on Patrick Chung here.
But they were going to be starters.
Yeah.
I mean, that's something to say here. Also, I think Cam getting COVID also really hurt them. Because if you really watch this thing here, Cam has not been the same post-COVID that he was before COVID.
Nope.
And I don't know what the reason for that is, but I mean, clearly something's different. So
they're just not a good football team. They haven't drafted well. Like we go back to picking on Howie Roseman a lot, but Bill Belichick, they drafted N'Keal Harry, first wide receiver off the board, except for Marquise Brown. He had the option to take A.J. Brown. He had the option to take DK Metcalf, Deebo Samuel. That wide receiver draft was loaded. He goes, nope, I want N'Keal Harry. And it's come out that the reason why they picked N'Keal Harry is because he called Herm Edwards on the phone, didn't watch him play, and said, is this kid any good?
Well, to be fair, with N'Keal Harry, his problem hasn't been that he's not good.
Oh, I think it's
all the time.
I think it's because he's not good. I don't think he's ever been good.
He's hurt all the time. We don't know if he's not.
He's also not good.
He plays like. I'm just talking specifically about his time in the NFL. He plays like half a quarter, gets hurt, is out for like 4 weeks, plays another half a quarter, and gets hurt again.
I don't think Bill Belichick watches college football. I'm convinced he doesn't. You can't explain some of his draft picks. They don't make any sense. Jared Stidham. Oh, this guy was going to be our next Brady. He was going to come. He can't fucking play. Every guy they picked is terrible. He hasn't had a good draft since like 2012 when they picked Chandler Jones. That's the last time he had a good draft. You can't even explain half of his picks. He picked 2 tight ends in the 3rd round, Chad. They got no catches. None. They picked Dalton Keene and they picked Devin Asiasi. They got no receptions. How do you do that?
Trade both those guys?
No, they just picked them this year in the 3rd round. They had 2 third-round picks. They picked 2 tight ends, and neither one of them play. How do you do that? You can't even explain his draft picks. They don't make any sense.
Yeah, he's been. I mean, I agree. He's been terrible drafting.
2nd round pick for Mohamed Sanu, and then they cut him. How do you explain that? He doesn't make sense. Greatest football coach of all time. Terrible GM.
Oh, I mean, you could say that, but I mean, he still won a Super Bowl in 2016 as the GM. So, I mean, he's doing something right.
You could pick names out of a hat and build a better football team than this one that he's got right now.
Maybe that's what he's doing. Magic 8-ball. Should I take this guy in the first round? Yeah, kill Harry. Take him in the first round. Magic 8-ball.
Their picks are terrible every year. But
I mean, I think it's like you said, we've known for a while they're not a good team. But Bill Belichick's been finding a way for him to win. I think maybe this year it's just an off year. Or everyone's saying that they're trying to get the first overall pick to take Trevor Lawrence.
Never going to happen. What do you got? Last one.
Last takeaway. We got to talk about the Bears here. I don't know how last night's game or yesterday's game affected this, but after last week, after switching to Foles in week 4, the Bears offense, at least statistically, has been worse with Nick Foles than it was with Mitch Trubisky.
Yep.
In the 3 games that Trubisky started, the Bears were never held under 300 yards. I think that changed last night. I think they gained 300.
Game also went to overtime, though.
That's correct. It did go to overtime.
They had a 5th quarter to do it.
But I think they got the 300 before it went to overtime.
All right.
Because going into the 3rd quarter or the 4th quarter, Nick Foles had like 220 yards passing. So I'm pretty sure they got the 300 regardless of whether it was in overtime or not. 22 first downs with Trubisky. Again, this is before last night's game. 22 first downs with Trubisky, 17.5 with Foles. Foles has a worse passer rating, 77.6, 87.4 Trubisky. QBR, 56.4 Trubisky, 46.2 Foles. Yards per attempt, 6.5 Trubisky, Foles 5.9. They had 6 touchdowns, and then Foles had 6 interceptions when Trubisky only had 3. And then Trubisky was also averaging 10.9 yards per carry. My question here, also, I think with Foles, they're 2-2. Trubisky was 2-0 when he got benched. Is there a point where you go back to Mitch Trubisky?
I mean, I think you kind of can't, but I don't think there's a big talent gap.
Because I've been saying this, I have a friend who's a Bears fan, and I've been saying it to him, and I've been saying it here. I love Nick Foles. He is not a starting quarterback in the NFL. He is a good backup. He's a good Ryan Fitzpatrick. Might be able to come in and get you a couple W's, but he's not going to get you. He's not going to play well the entire season. I think there's a lot of quarterbacks you could have put on the Bears this year, and they'd be a lot better than Mitch Trubisky and Nick Foles. I think there's a lot of quarterbacks you could have put in the game last night against the Saints who almost tried to give them the win, and they would have won that game. And it wouldn't have even been close. It would have been like 30 or 40 to 23, which is what the Saints ended up with. I think the only thing that's stopping them from going back to Mitch Trubisky is the fact that Matt Nagy just fucking hates the guy.
As he should.
But my question is why do you hate Mitch Trubisky but not Nick Foles? Matt Nagy?
Had him for a long time, I guess.
And they're the same fucking quarterback, basically, except Trubisky can run.
Yeah. I think Foles can throw it a little better, but you're not picking up any first downs with his legs like the way you can with Trubisky.
Which is funny because they brought Trubisky in like the first quarter for a play to have him run the ball.
I mean, they're screwed. It is what it is. They're screwed. There's nothing they can do. And the problem is they're too good to draft someone. They're not going to have a top 5 pick. They're just not.
So, which, in my opinion, why not go back to Trubisky? He might get you a top 5 pick.
How many wins did they got?
4.
Are you sure?
Hey, 4 or 3. They're not that good. I think they officially have a losing record now, I think.
Chicago's 5-3.
Are they really?
Yes, they're really.
I did not know that. I thought they had like 3 wins.
Yeah, no shot to have a top 5 pick.
You put Mitch Trubisky in right now. Lose the rest of your games for the season.
They still wouldn't have it.
Top 5 pick.
I still don't think they have it. I'm talking about the Giants, who are terrible, the Redskins, who are terrible, the Jets, the Falcons. Who else is really, really bad?
You could get into the top 10 and then trade up.
The Jets, the Jaguars, the Texans, the Giants, Washington, Detroit, Atlanta. I mean, I don't see how you could leapfrog them.
Dallas, Philly.
Yeah. That's too many to leapfrog.
All right, maybe you got a point. Who's coming out the year after, quarterback-wise? Anybody good?
It's not a good one the year after.
I'm trying to help, Bears fans. I'm trying to help.
It's not nearly as good as it will be this year.
Well, like I said, Nick Foles ain't it. Bears fans, you're going to get your hopes up. He's not going to win you. You're going to be in the playoffs at this point. I mean, it'd be hard for you not to make the playoffs with the 3rd spot, at least. But you're not going to win a playoff game. Unless you might be the team that plays the Eagles. Maybe then you might win a playoff game.
The NFC is kind of down, too. Like, the NFC West is good with Arizona and the Rams and the Seahawks. And you think that Tampa and New Orleans will get a spot. But, like, Chicago's right there. They're like the next team.
Yeah. Well, I mean, to be fair, what is Seattle, San Fran's
Arizona done. San Francisco is completely done.
Who's the other team in that division?
Cardinals.
Arizona. You could have 3 teams from that division make the playoffs.
There's still one more spot.
I know. I'm just saying. 3 teams from that division can make the playoffs.
Easy.
But I don't think San Fran's done.
Oh, they're absolutely done. George Kittle just broke his leg. Jimmy Garoppolo's out 8 weeks now. They're done.
Oh yeah, I didn't know all that. It's definitely chalk for the 49ers.
They're done.
Hey, McCaffrey's coming back. Panthers can slide into the playoffs, man. Don't get it twisted.
All right, Chad. I think that'll do it for this week.
Yeah, that'll wrap it up. Don't forget, like Trey said, to go do whatever you do on Patreon. I don't know what that is.
Yeah, donate
on Patreon.
And you get special perks. I believe, I forget what it is, but $6 a month, you become a Vendetta University recruit. Easy $6. Just donate $6 and you become a VU recruit in Jackson series. You donate $10. Eventually, you'll end up getting a koozie. You'll get to chat with us. There's one of the tiers is a Google Hangout where you get to speak to someone on the site. You know, there's a lot of perks in it. So donate.
Yep. Donate. Don't forget to check out the YouTube channel. subscribe to the channel.
Yeah.
Go ahead and like some videos. Help us out there. We've got Jackson series, Vendetta U. Scott Logish is doing something with Maximum Football. I think he's doing like a Canadian Rules League or something like that. Jackson's all over the place. He's got the Tandemodium he's on with Brian Tan. He's got obviously VU we talked about. He put out another gaming video the other day for some game that was just on his desktop that he's blown off steam with. So check out stuff that Jackson's doing, because I'm sure he has some hand in something on the site everywhere you look. I've got UFC 4. I didn't do an episode last week because honestly I forgot. But going to be an episode this week. Obviously we have all of the podcasts. We're going to do a fantasy show. That'll be there Wednesday. So just check us out. Look for us on YouTube. Like I said, subscribe. Don't forget to follow the site on Twitter, Vendetta_media. You can like us on Facebook. We have an Instagram page. Follow Trey on Twitter at Trey Daubert, TreyDaubert. Check me out on Twitter at Lilfooted, LILFOOTED. Other than that, thanks for giving us a listen, and we'll see you next week.